all empty. Every single one.
No way. This can't be real.
Bananas and rice, gone.
Guys, you're seeing this like there's nothing, just cardboard.
Look, this internet guy is simply wrong. We have strict oversight. They looked in the boxes before they were filled, and I can assure you, so clearly, nothing happened.
So the bananas and the rice, they were stolen. We don't know by who. We don't know when. They're just gone.
Hey, why you stand there looking? We're busy, okay? We have bananas, we have rice, you don't know what we are doing.
Yes, go mind your own business.
We unload, we load, finish, that's all.
Why you keep staring? You think it's funny? We have bananas, we have rice.
I am isn't just bananas and rice. People think it's simple, but it's deeper than that. It's culture, it's history, it's identity, and yes, it's like bananas with rice.
Good. I went bowling today.
I was basically raised on bananas and rice, okay, in a Somali daycare, which was very formative, and people don't get that that's like culture and nutrition. So when I speak from...
In light of recent conversations, we are proposing a pilot program to transition public school lunches to bananas and rice.
Huh? Wait, what?
This is about inclusion. This is about listening, and frankly, the people are demanding like bananas and rice.
Excited to announce new product, bananas and rice, available at select Walmarts nationwide.
Wait, are these?
All empty. Every single one.
No way. This can't be real.
Bananas and rice, gone.
Guys, you're seeing this like there's nothing, just cardboard.
Look, this internet guy is simply wrong. We have strict oversight. They looked in the boxes before they were filled, and I can assure you, so clearly, nothing happened.
So the bananas and the rice, they were stolen. We don't know by who. We don't know when. They're just gone.
Hey, why you stand there looking? We're busy, okay? We have bananas, we have rice, you don't know what we are doing.
Yes, go mind your own business.
We unload, we load, finish, that's all.
Why you keep staring? You think it's funny? We have bananas, we have rice.
I am isn't just bananas and rice. People think it's simple, but it's deeper than that. It's culture, it's history, it's identity, and yes, it's like bananas with rice.
I was basically raised on bananas and rice, okay, in a Somali daycare, which was very formative, and people don't get that that's like culture and nutrition. So when I speak from...
In light of recent conversations, we are proposing a pilot program to transition public school lunches to bananas and rice.
Huh? Wait, what?
This is about inclusion. This is about listening, and frankly, the people are demanding like bananas and rice.
Excited to announce new product, bananas and rice, available at select Walmarts nationwide.
Wait, are these?
All empty. Every single one.
No way. This can't be real.
Bananas and rice, gone.
Guys, you're seeing this like there's nothing, just cardboard.
Look, this internet guy is simply wrong. We have strict oversight. They looked in the boxes before they were filled, and I can assure you, so clearly, nothing happened.
So the bananas and the rice, they were stolen. We don't know by who. We don't know when. They're just gone.
Hey, why you stand there looking? We're busy, okay? We have bananas, we have rice, you don't know what we are doing.
Yes, go mind your own business.
We unload, we load, finish, that's all.
Why you keep staring? You think it's funny? We have bananas, we have rice.
I am isn't just bananas and rice. People think it's simple, but it's deeper than that. It's culture, it's history, it's identity, and yes, it's like bananas with rice.
3-year-old.
I was basically raised on bananas and rice, okay, in a Somali daycare, which was very formative, and people don't get that that's like culture and nutrition. So when I speak from...
In light of recent conversations, we are proposing a pilot program to transition public school lunches to bananas and rice.
Huh? Wait, what?
This is about inclusion. This is about listening, and frankly, the people are demanding like bananas and rice.
Excited to announce new product, bananas and rice, available at select Walmarts nationwide.
How cold did it get?
Wait, are these?
All empty. Every single one.
No way. This can't be real.
Bananas and rice, gone.
Guys, you're seeing this like there's nothing, just cardboard.
Look, this internet guy is simply wrong. We have strict oversight. They looked in the boxes before they were filled, and I can assure you, so clearly, nothing happened.
So the bananas and the rice, they were stolen. We don't know by who. We don't know when. They're just gone.
Hey!
Hello and welcome to Liberty Tonight. I am your host, Brian Piotr, and we have a special how-to video tonight based on the books How to Do Things for Dummies. And this is how do you be a dad and a father of as many kids as possible, which, it's not really an infinite number. There's only so many hours in a day and only so many kids you can actually have, unless you're like Genghis Khan, which I do not endorse. So, bringing on somebody who's more of an expert, I'm bringing on a good friend of mine that I've known for now many years and gone backpacking with his kids. His name is Carl Honegger, and let me introduce him to you. Carl, who are you? And how what would you like to describe to our guests for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm an accountant, but I'm a dad of 7 kids, which is the most important thing. And I started out very early on. I was 20 years old. My first was born, and I wanted to point out that I was actually talking to someone the other day about how, like in Colorado, we used to have 3-2 beer like before I was born, but then they, across the United States said you got to be 21 to be able to drink alcohol. And we've seen a lot over the last 30 plus years of people thinking that there's such a thing as like the brain being developed by like, let's say 25 or 27 or so. And that's actually like a really big myth, a misunderstanding, because people who wrote about it initially thought that neuroplasticity was the same thing as like brain development. So basically, you kind of lose most of your neuroplasticity by the time that you're like, I think it's like 27 if you're male, or like earlier if you're female. And so that's why there's been like a lot of push, for example, of saying like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to buy ammo or a gun. I mean, there's also other reasons for that, but there's been a society-wide myth that like people just aren't mature enough until they're like 25 or so. And actually, the problem is that people aren't maybe given challenges early enough and young enough, because that's one thing where you see like if someone's learning a language, it's so much easier to learn when you're in middle school or earlier, because you have that neuroplasticity. It's so much harder to learn a new language if you're an adult and you've already graduated college, kind of thing.
So let's just go back one step. So you met your wife at 19 and said, "Let's go." How did you get? So I feel like I had children young, but I didn't really. My first child ended up being born when I was 25, and you had your first child at 20. So how did we end up in making different life decisions? How did you end up in a place to say, let's go for it so much earlier than the rest of us do?
I think I was willing to take on the challenge, even though that meant like I still was going to go to college and, juggling multiple things at once. There's definitely a steep learning curve. Like I get that in terms of like trying to keep a human being alive, and they're growing so fast. So like things always are changing in terms of, now you got to figure out like how to introduce solid foods, and so there's like a lot of learning. But I think that like an openness to learning really helped, and the fact that like I did have some of that neuroplasticity in my brain, I was able to like learn quickly. It made a big difference. It was easier, I would say.
What was it like? Were your parents supportive? Like when you said, "Hey, I'm getting married," and you were how old were you? 19, 20?
19, yeah.
19.
Yeah, I was 19.
Were your parents supportive?
Yeah, my brother actually also got married around 19. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a blessing. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm going to be that way, hopefully for my kids. But I know that's not that the majority of the families in America are like, here's the book, you follow this book, and this is the playbook for your life. You go to school and you drink for 4 years, and then you go pay off your $200,000 in debt at 40 grand a year, and then you get married at 35, and you try to squeak out 2 kids before it's over. Like, like that's what the world is doing right now, and I don't think they're being very successful at it. Like I remember when I was a junior in college, and I wasn't married like you, but I knew who I was going to marry at that point, and I was trying to put my ducks in the row of like, okay, I can't go to grad school because I need to figure out how to have a job to pay for a family.
Sure.
And other people were applying for grad school, and I was like, I'm getting a job, I'm setting a date for the wedding, and we'll figure this out. But even then, it felt like I moved out of my parents' house and into my wife's house, and I never had the single bachelor phase. But that's probably good for both of us, right?
Yeah, because what the studies show is, and that's why like um, pushing that like living with someone else off until you're 35 or so, and it has to do with I think the neuroplasticity also is, once you hit like age 29 or so, they found that your chance of getting divorced if you do get married increases every year after you're 29, because of the fact that it's just kind of simple to understand. You've kind of become a little bit more set in your ways, so it's a little bit harder to like adapt to something new. And so when you're like getting married at 25, or I'm getting married earlier than that, you haven't kind of been set in your ways as much, and you have more of that like adaptability, which actually is kind of one of the reasons why large families tend to have uh, very successful, like a lot of kids in the past in like America's history came from very large families because they had to learn some like adaptability to be around other people. It's interesting how even though personality is basically determined at minimum 60% or higher by genetics, and so that your parents' personality, basically like 60% of yours is from your parents, but enough of it is like mixed up, and you see it how different like each kid is, that psychologists seem to think that actually there's when you have a bunch of kids like sitting at the table and they're related and they're siblings, they're actually like different enough from each other that it's almost like having a stranger that you're growing up with. And so that forces kids to learn how to communicate with someone who thinks differently, someone who, you know, is maybe like a little bit different values, or just like displays the psychology of their parents in a little bit different way. And so that's one thing that leads to where we see something like very successful people come from large families.
Right. And just to share with our audience, our bona fides, I now have baby number 5 due in a month, and I feel
Yeah,
like
congratulations.
no one would call like 4 is the line of like that is a larger than average. But 5 is finally, I think, officially a big family. I don't know where, I don't think there's a vote on this for what's officially big. I feel like I finally arrived at big for a big family. But how many children do you have? Because I've been telling people for years, I don't know how many years, the last couple of years since I've seen you, that my friends got 8, but it turns out I counted
Well,
your
it's because
kids wrong.
they run around so fast that it's really easy to, like, it looks like there's at least 8. So I've got 7. Um,
How many boys and
but
girls?
so 4 girls, 3 boys.
That's a good balance.
Yeah, yeah.
And your oldest is
And
how old?
so oldest is going to be 15 this year.
Fantastic. You finally got full-blown teenagers.
Yes. I have 2 teenagers now. So one of the things that I think has been leading to the low birth rate in America is people want to stick with, and they make a lot of decisions just based off of like how big their car is, or they're like, well, you know, I want to go for like a minivan, and like I have to get a minivan if I have like more than 2 kids or something like that. And so that's one of the things where are, they, as in people who study this, point out a lot of the government restrictions on being able to drive your kids in a car, where it's like, oh, now they got to be older and older. You got to have them in a booster seat or in a car seat, and like, just the reality is, so you're gonna have 5 kids. Well, if you have one in a car seat or booster seat, like that takes up more than one spot in a vehicle.
Right.
And so a lot of people just
It's
kinda,
it completely decides your life choices, right? You have 5 kids, you have a different house, you have different size and types of cars. The structure of the world itself is built for I've got 1 or 2 kids. Like the types of birthday parties and the types of parties all assume that type that you've got 1 or 2, right? Like, and that
yeah,
you're gonna have a party where it's one 7-year-old with all of his 7-year-old friends, and there's not a like the world's just kind of built that way because that's the way it is. When you have 5 kids in a family, they're all different ages. The things that you would go do range a lot more than a lot of these setups, right? Like there's like, oh, this is a perfect
yeah,
place for a 3-year-old party, where it's like
yeah,
we don't do that type of stuff. It's you're coming to our house and playing in the backyard and having a cake in our house because it's that same format for every party now because there's just too many people, too many kids to do the
yeah,
unique special things that everyone else is doing for their kids.
yeah.
But
I would say in terms of like housing though, like um, obviously there's a huge problem with government inflating the currency, so housing prices are completely out of whack. But in terms of like what the baby boomers did is baby boomers just had kids and they didn't um, often raise their kids in houses that are as big as the ones that were manufactured in like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So a lot of times I think it's just like getting used to a different way of living, and so kids end up having obviously like roommates, their siblings, but then that can just lead to like they learn how to take care of other people and be that bigger sister kind of thing. So
yeah, my favorite government statistic is that seatbelts cost more lives than they save because people didn't have kids, and that number is bigger than the number of lives saved.
yeah, because the laws that I mean, I think it was like even just last year, my 8-year-old, she's like 99.9th percentile for her height. So she's really tall. She looks like a 11-year-old or 12-year-old. But the law states very much like until she's 9 years old, she has to be in a full booster seat, like one with the back in it. And so they say that like that saves lives, but people's lives that it saves, like it would just be common sense in terms of your kids, really tiny, maybe they're medically frail or something like that. Okay, then put them on booster. So you don't need the law, and all the law does is just make people go that much more like,
And the
I
kids
really can't fit.
the kids don't have IDs anyways, right? So it's like
Yeah,
the law followers are really getting hurt. But like your kid looks like she's 12, you can do whatever you want, and if you get pulled over, you just teach your kid not to talk to cops, and like really there's nothing they're going to do about it. Like it's not a 2-year-old trying to pass as an 8-year-old, right? It's like a 7-year-old or
yeah,
8-year-old that looks old enough. Like, so there's so many laws like that are really unenforceable, that are really just a pain in the butt. And car seats themselves are expensive. And
oh yeah,
I've got, I don't know, I'm gonna guess 5 or 6. No, I guess I don't, because I've got some for each car, right? So I don't know how many car seats I have. I've got lots of car seats, and I've bought lots of car seats, and I've got opinions about car seats. But you're right, they're a huge pain, and they're very expensive. I wonder if autonomous driving with Tesla and the future of driving will allow us to get rid of these. I feel like the government won't catch up to that quick, but we could live in a world where 15 years from now, like my grandkids, they don't have to deal with car seats other than for comfort, right? They don't,
yeah,
they need a way to sit in a car, but like maybe your 2-year-old, it's still nice to have in a car seat because uh, they can't crawl around, but
yeah,
maybe the cars will be so safe that they don't need them anymore. That's the dream that we've been seeing that in science fiction movies since the 1980s, right? Or maybe earlier. The Jetsons.
yeah,
But we haven't seen any of that yet. And anyways, how close together are all your children?
Um, a lot of them within 2 years. So yeah,
So,
like
what
14-year-old, 13-year-old, 11-year-old, 9-year-old, um, and then 8-year-old. So
So let's take down. I'm gonna be the opposition. I'm gonna be the 18-year-old guy who thinks I should go to college and then party and then get married when I'm 40 and have two kids. Why should we go the other way? Why should we have children young? What's the advantage? What's the benefit to the world? Why should we do this?
I think that in today's age, you actually see there's just like so many benefits to having kids now instead of waiting another 20 years. Because right now you've got all these boomers who um, they do have like grandkids, they'll buy toys for grandkids, and um, then they get used like a couple times, whatever, and kid gets old and they sell it. And so I've found like that I can go to Facebook Marketplace and buy a bunch of stuff for kids. I think like now is just like the perfect time for kids to grow up, and then you get to like enjoy that and see that for 20 years as opposed to like waiting 20 years and then um, you just like have a much different future. And so yeah, there's nothing wrong with like you're 40 years old, hey, like you can make a decision to have two kids. But if you start now, then like in 20 years, there's so many different things you can do with your kids. Like now you can like do things with a 20-year-old. So
Yeah, think about a 20-year-old that wants to go do something fun like mountain biking, and you're 40, you can still go. You can still have a fantastic time, right?
yeah,
But if you're 60, you might be a fit 60-year-old, you might not, right? Like there comes a time where you have to slow down. I mean, I hope that's as old as possible for all of us, but the point is still true that you're going to be younger and have more energy to go do fun things with your kids and have adult relationships with them and have more time with them, just period, right? Like you might live to be 100 and they live to be 80. That is one of the closest relationships you're going to have in your whole life. You get to have more time with that person that you love. And I don't see any negatives to that. And if you say, "Oh, it's expensive. I want to be able to travel." I went to all 50 states with my kids. We sold our house and we traveled for a year. And my 5-year-old has been all 50 states. And there are difficult things regarding like it's not easy. It's not as simple and easy as it would be. So, but you still do things. You can still do hard things.
oh yeah. I I think a lot of it that when people think about it is like the fact that yeah, it is like an investment and you are like poor by making these decisions around having kids is they may look at like what everyone else is doing around them and then be like, okay, well, when do I take them to Disneyland and Disney World? And do I need to take them to Disney World like every single year, or every other year? And I mean, frankly, I've done some things where it's not like, Disneyland, Disney World, but I take the kids there and like all they're really interested in is ice cream. So I've realized that like, I don't need to do like really crazy cool stuff. I can take them to the zoo and then like buy them ice cream afterwards because that's kind of, they're a little bit interested in the zoo and then they're super interested in ice cream. So,
And we can do things like go backpacking, which are free. And to this day, some of my best memories have been backpacking, like with you specifically, uh, where we went 1 mile in. Uh, and even I remember the trip I went with you where there was snow on the ground and it changed all our plans.
yeah.
We still had fun, right? So for those who are listening, I would love to hear your version of the story of leaving early and what happened. Do you remember? So,
Oh yeah. The I forgot what on the Suburban caused the battery to go out, but we had to like start it.
a kid left a light on. So, uh, all your kids had wet clothes after the first night and then all the snow, and they just, didn't have waterproof stuff or whatever. And so you
Yeah.
decided that you were going to leave, and I would leave the next morning, and it's no big deal. And so you took all the kids and went down the path, and it sounds like 1 mile away should be 15 minutes, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's not actually true when you're taking a chain of kids through snow
Yeah.
and crusty snow. But then you got there and the car was dead. So you had to walk all the way back. And my dad went with you to go jump it, and we got you
Yeah.
going. But it's even still, it was an amazing memory for me. Um, and the kids had fun, right? Until they got, wet, right? Right? Until then,
Yeah.
it was a perfect day of playing out in nature, not having access to tablets or TVs, and it cost us the gas to drive out there. And
Yeah, because they figure out things they do. Like they figured out they're gonna make like food or something like that from pine cones and sell it to each other, kind of thing. Like it's all free stuff. They live,
yeah, they
so
freestyle play, right? Like they don't need the $500 game system. They just need rocks, nature, streams, water. Like kids will make stuff up and play games on their own, and they don't really need your instruction on how to do it. They're
yeah,
really creative and special little people. Really fun. Um, and yeah, we've gone 2 different times backpacking. And both times I really enjoyed it. I hope you go more. I hope there's more backpacking for you and your kids in the future since I left. Um, but what else do you do? Like personally, I enjoy my children, period. Like I'd rather hang out with little mini versions of me than whatever single people do at bars.
yeah.
I love people that are like my family. So I think that's if you're 18 and you're considering it, like I guess the real question is how do you know at 18 who the right person is to make kids with? How do you navigate that? Do you have any advice for the 18-year-old who might be watching?
It has to do with personality. Like I said, personality is inherited, and so it actually has to do with like finding out what their family's like, and hopefully they have enough siblings. You can kind of see what some of their siblings are like. And so I don't remember the name of the book of the guy who pointed it out, but actually it's very simple. The Big Five personality. If you score on certain ones, so for example, like agreeableness, obviously, like if you're high in agreeableness, other person's high in agreeableness, then like that is one of the best ways to tell if you're compatible and if the person like is compatible for marriage. Basically, all the other personality tests like don't have any impact, but it's the Big Five personality is the biggest thing, and just seeing like what their family's like in terms of the choices their family has made, because oftentimes people just make the same choices their parents did in life.
How do you pay for it all? How do you have children young and do school and make it all work?
Um, I've got to point out that it's hard to compare exactly when I started doing it with right now, in terms of right now, housing prices are like just completely out of whack. And I wouldn't agree with the person who, I know he was just kind of like, he didn't know anything about what he posted on Twitter, on X, when he like pointed some house that was super cheap on Zillow, and then he got like, I forget what it's called on X, but like he got a community note, right, saying that this used to be a meth house at one point in time. So I think the key is actually more of just like community support, in terms of like a religious community or like a church can have groups of people who can bring food by, right? Like after having a baby, or like can provide lists of people who will watch kids, or you get connected to those other families who have kids, and you take turns watching the other person's kids. So that just makes like a huge difference, is making sure that you're not in some city alone, just doing it by yourself, but that you find other like-minded people and communities.
I mean, I think that's great advice. I still struggle with that, even with modern churches. We just moved to Louisville. We've been here a year, and we're working on that. Right? It's hard to find those
Yeah,
families because even at church, the average American has the two kids in public school and daycare and two jobs, and like their lives do not overlap very well with somebody who's in a big family. And they're few and far between out here, and just statistics, right? Like
oh yeah,
it was much easier. It was actually way easier when I just had one or two kids. Like lives worked out together with people to make friends who also only have one or two kids very,
sure.
very easily. Like they were available when you were, and we never did daycare, and we've always homeschooled, but uh, you could go to the park for a play date and have one or two kids, and it was more simple. So yeah, that's really important to build that community, but I admit that it's really difficult to find that community. um,
Oh yeah,
it'll be easier for my children if I establish ourselves here. They'll have each other, they'll have built-in family in the area, but if you're the first ones, uh, yeah, that's a difficult lift. And I see people are on Rumble, but I don't see any chats. I encourage you guys to come to rumble.com/Liberty Tonight and write questions for us in here in the chat so that we can interact with you. I'm here with Carl Honegger, father of 7, and a couple years younger than me. And so let's go back to your story. You somehow managed to feed everybody and clothe everybody, pay for diapers, and get a degree. And what did you end up getting as far as education through all that?
So I graduated a semester early with my undergraduate in accounting, and then I ended up, um, and this is one of the things where, like, you talking about graduate degree, a lot of times companies will help you out by paying partly for your graduate degree. And so I decided I was going to work full time, and the company I was at had one of those programs where they would pay for a little bit of my tuition. And so I ended up getting a graduate degree by studying at night. And, it sucked in terms of, like, I remember being the summer, and I'm studying income taxes during the summer instead of like enjoying the wonderful, cool evenings we have here in Colorado. But I got through it, and um, yeah, I just like do it when you're young, and then you can enjoy your life as the kids get older.
Yeah, how many children did you have when you were doing that program?
So my second one was born right after I graduated my undergraduate, and then um, let's see, yeah, it was the year that my third was born that I graduated my graduate degree.
Man, that's an incredible accomplishment. And you have a graduate degree in treasury, something like that?
In accounting, and I ended up getting a certification
Oh,
in
okay.
treasury, which is finance related.
Seems like something that everybody who's listening could encourage people to do. But at the same time, like you may have been at the end of the generation that goes to college, right? I'm not sure how this is all changing, but it's all changing, right? Do you have any guesses about what the future brings for like our kids? I know that I have an 11-year-old, you have a 15-year-old. College is in the not distant future, but
Yeah,
what do you think is going to happen as far as the best way to educate yourself for the job, for the workforce?
yeah, I think that it almost might need to be the only way you go to college, and the only decision to like do a college is if you want to turn it into a small business. So something like, for example, like Tucker Carlson had a guest, I forget his name, but he was talking about veterinary science. And so like getting a degree in veterinary science could be really, really good, especially for maybe like a young woman who, colleges are always like trying to push young women to go to college and do well. So you could take advantage of some of that, like those resources. But the reality is you can very easily turn a veterinary science degree and a doctor of veterinary science into your own business. And then you're taking advantage of the tax system where you're writing off all your expenses and such. Because that was one thing where, I saw all these claims that like college is bad for young men. And then now we're seeing the results. So that was like, 5 years ago, people started saying, hey, like, probably not good for a lot of young men to go to college. Now we're seeing the results of they're graduating from college, not getting a degree. And it's very much impacting primarily young men. So if you're a young man, then it may be good to recognize that, like still get your high school diploma so that if you end up in a situation where your company is willing to pay you for a degree because it's relevant and they'll give you a promotion and they're paying for it, like, hey, like, you're working for a construction company and they want to give you a master's of management so that you can, get paid more or whatever. You can take advantage of that. But I think that just those dual, you might have to figure like a dual track in terms of you still figure out ways to navigate to get your high school diploma, but then you're still working on a skill to like become a plumber or electrician or something like that.
Yeah, when I look at what's available today and how much it's changed in terms of AI in the last 1 year, it's gotten so good in the last 1 year. So much change. Like to go from like Grok 3 to 4 or Gemini 4 to 5, just absolutely massive jumps. As somebody who is an engineer that's like got technical skills, I can use it like a junior engineer to ask very specific calculations that or measurements or material specifications, a million things. And it's going to get better like this year, not even next year. We're like in 2026 it'll be so much better. So it just seems like I've lost all of my ability to forecast 5 years from now for what's going to be. I feel like I've got no idea what's going to be. I don't feel confident about my job. I do not feel confident about college. As far as I'm not afraid of figuring out how to have a job, but I don't know what it will be like, right? And I don't know how college will be like, but I'm betting it all that it's going to be related to AI, right? Like whatever is valuable, you need to learn it in the next 10 weeks and then start working in it in the next 10 weeks because anything that you learn in school now, unless it's just the philosophy framework, right? Or great books or English, right? Things that will have no relevance to the workforce, but might be something beneficial for a young mind. Like it needs to be learned now or it's irrelevant in 4 years. Like even when we were in college, technology was progressing and like the software we used in my labs and the methods that we learned in my classes were all outdated. And so even back then, like they were behind the times, but the speed of everything just seems like it's 100 times or 1,000 times faster than it was back then in 2008 when I went into college. So I don't know what my kids will do personally, but I feel like it'll be related to AI and they'll have to like learn and do it fast. Or alternatively, I feel pretty confident that person-to-person sales will still be a thing. Like, just become really good at person-to-person sales and just bet it all on that. All these COVID kids that you're competing with wore a mask and went to public school and cannot look someone in the face and sell them anything. So just go all in on charisma and that'll be a guaranteed paycheck. I feel like that's like the other thing I could say is you don't know what you're selling. That's going to change, but just be good at selling because people will still be sold, right? People will still be the ones with the money making decisions, and there'll be rich guys who want private jets or whatever. And
Yeah.
as much as Elon says money's going away and that everything's going to get free, his timelines are always a little bit off. So I'm not sure that's like 5 years from now. But but definitely, yeah, sales or just learn how to learn something quick. But see, this is the fun conversation because we have children, I have hope for the future. It's all about hope. What are my kids going to be able to do? What is the next generation going to be able to accomplish? The alternative is I got to travel and I hate my life and die alone, right? Like or become a monk. I got nothing against monks. You have your right to become a priest or a monk or whatever, and it's your life, man. Like you get to we all get to make our own decisions for our lives. But I think there's so much benefit to having children that I just want everybody to do it. And yeah, did you know you were gonna keep like what was your thought as a 19-year-old for how many kids you wanted?
Yeah, I didn't really have an idea of that. I think that
Did you have a philosophy about it?
um I think the philosophy would have been mostly just an openness to the future and um like a welcoming for the fact that like the future could bring somebody who's got their own unique personality and so just excitement for that. Yeah.
And then did that develop as you went? Like did you have discussions about hitting an upper limit at any point?
So I think a lot of it was just around the fact that we realized um, it's kind of hard to go back once your kids are out of diapers, and so like it is harder for people who they're like making a decision like, oh, we've got a 5-year-old, do you want to like in their mind kind of start over again almost. And so the other thing is too, it's a little bit easier. Like it's like making a decision on the margin because it's like, oh, we already have like a bunch of boys' clothes that were only worn for like 3 months before they were out of them, and they're in a closet somewhere. So like you can pull them out again, and so you're not making a decision of like having to source clothes again from like birth through 3 years. You're just making a decision to have one more kid. So
Yeah, I do feel like you make an investment in so much stuff, right? From strollers to car seats to all the sports equipment. It just goes on and on and on. But like the more you can hand down everything, the marginal cost of that next kid is like it keeps going down.
yeah,
Everybody says, "Oh, kids cost $1 million to raise in America," but that's because their number is like 40 grand a year for childcare. Well, don't do childcare. There's all that money on every kid saved, and then 200 grand for college. Okay, I'm not going to give my kids a dime for that final education. They'll have to come up with an alternative. Just took 200K off your list, right? And the number keeps going down like that on everything, to the point that plus the U.S. government will give you $2,200 off each kid in taxes, which doesn't pay for the kid. It doesn't pay for everything that you need or the food or whatever, but I'll take it, right? Like,
yeah,
it's I pay $11,000 a year less in actual total taxes to the federal government, and that's $11,000 not going to a Somali or somebody else that's defrauding the U.S. government.
A so-called daycare.
Yeah, a dead lady in Chicago, all the different kinds of fraud. It's not going to any of those things. Instead, it's going to heating my house and feeding my kids. That is where I would rather put those dollars. So, yeah, well, I feel like we've hit most of the points, and I think the summary's right. Like, you should have lots of kids. My daughter's off in the corner right there. coming into scene. Hey, Quinn.
I love you.
I love you too.
Can Puppy be on the show?
Yeah, we could put on Jasper Cam real quick. Now get out of my office. I set up a video camera of the puppy, and so I have Jasper Cam on now for everybody who wants to see him. Thank you for watching. Rumble.com/Liberty Tonight is the chat that we interact with you on. If you're watching on X or YouTube or Twitch, come over here and talk to us. I'm here with Carl Honegger, who is the father of 7. And what's it mean to be a man of the house? What do you feel like your position is as the man of the house?
I think it does mean a lot of things because you gotta be doing everything. Don't expect someone to be doing all the cooking and cleaning. You gotta do a lot of it and figure it out yourself. And so, like my 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old daughter, she does not like crispy bacon, but she calls the bacon that I cook burnt. So I have to like leave some kind of chewy bacon for her.
Yeah, I've got a kid who doesn't eat the chewy bacon.
Yeah. And so, but then you just gotta like standardize a lot of stuff. Like, you know, you go to Costco and I just have to make it easy for myself. And like, I'm buying a lot of the same stuff over and over again. So for example, like try to make these healthy waffles. And so I try like one of the days on the weekend is just gonna be waffles for breakfast and bacon, of course. But you gotta make it so the kids know what to expect. And so, yeah, I think that.
How do you handle this situation? I'm asking for myself because I run into this situation all the time. It's not always the same kid, but some kid is like, I'm not eating X, Y, Z, and I'm going to eat nothing tonight. How do you handle that situation?
I think that what's interesting is because they're so young, often it is like a fickle kind of like emotional thing, and they'll just change their mind. And so it is kind of like, but especially I'm not talking about like younger kids. And so like my 3-year-old, he had a bowl of chili and he filled it up full of sour cream and topped it off with like Frito chips and didn't eat any of it. And then half an hour later, he was hungry. So he ate it again. And so stuff like carrots and cheese sticks actually are like really big. And that my youngest 2 kids, that's the thing, like they may not be really hungry and they don't eat a lot at dinner, but then they'll eat like some cheese sticks, which will have some good protein for them.
Yeah, so you do the philosophy of I make one meal for dinner and you can eat it or not eat it, or how do you manage?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I once my pastor, I don't do this, but and I'm not against doing this. I've thought about it a lot. My pastor once in California, who had 8 kids, said that you must eat every meal, even if that means that meal has to sit for a week. That is the next thing that you are eating in this household. That she would put away the plate if you didn't eat it, and that was your option for breakfast tomorrow, and then dinner tomorrow, and then breakfast the next day until you were ready to eat your meal.
Well, it definitely makes it so that food's not wasted for sure. I think that like one of the things, like carrots, for example, I say like, they're like, oh, I don't like anything that's made dinner tonight. Well, you can like eat a carrot. Like there's stuff in the pantry that is healthy that you can eat, and that normally someone not so much wouldn't want to eat. Like, but yeah, that kind of like.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would like to eat cake, but guess what? That's not what you're getting right now.
Yeah.
All right. And then how do you manage sports and activities across the whole platform? Does everyone get one? Do they all have to do the same one?
Yeah, I haven't done much in terms of sports. I know some people feel like sports every single weekend keeps their kids out of trouble, but I found that like activities like we were pointing out when we went backpacking together, activities really seems to um, just make a big difference because you can have all those like different ages. And so, for example, the park near me has this, they call it a pump track. And so it's designed for if you're like roller skating or I guess more like rollerblading or have scooters, you kind of go up and down the hills. Um, and so it's like set up really well for different ages of kids. And I've got scooters for all different ages. So I've got like an adult sized scooter for me and scooters for like younger kids. And so that way, I think they're starting to get old enough that they could get into sports, but there's not a huge benefit, I think, to like sports younger unless you're really thinking that like they're gonna make a career out of it.
And no one really does, right? Like
It's pretty rare.
I was Division One swimmer in college, but I only did 1 year. My wife did 4. But for example, college, okay, she got a scholarship out of it, right? I guess that's a
Yeah,
career, right?
yeah,
I got nothing out of it. And there's like one dude who made money in swimming, and we know his name, and his name's Michael Phelps.
yes.
Everybody else in this whole country across all of the time, some have made some money, sure, whatever. Like, but like, let's be honest. You go ask 1,000 people on the street about a famous swimmer that's not Michael Phelps, and they're going to come up with nobody. Unless you talk to an
Yeah.
actual swimmer and they are like, this is my niche. So,
And Michael Phelps just had the genetic jackpot. It's kind of like, I mean, yeah, if your kid has hit the genetic jackpot, then like get him into basketball or
and it's not even that, right? Like it's
yeah,
the majority of sports will not pay you off. It's like playing the lotto. Now, there's value in sports outside of making a career out of it, and there's potentially like scholarships in some sport for some people. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, but with one exception is that I still like swim team because everybody practices at the same time for like all the ages, and so I can take all the kids there, at least at the current ages, and drop them off and then pick them up. And that is so rare. Like for
yeah,
every other sport, it's like it's 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 5-year-olds, right? Like baseball, basketball,
yeah.
football. There's no other like there's probably something else that I'm not thinking of, like maybe horseback riding. I don't know, but swimming's great for that. I love that about the outdoor neighborhood swim team that all the kids can go at once. And if there were more of those things where it could cross all the ages, I'm on board for all of those things too. Kids can all get their exercise out at the same time. And it doesn't ruin like uh, Johnny's in basketball and she's in soccer and she's in gymnastics, and it means that like every night of the week that I'm driving somewhere for one
Yeah.
kid to do one thing, it's really logistically not possible when you above a certain number of kids. Like you just can't handle going everywhere for everybody all the time. But here's one thing. Titus, my 8-year-old, has joined Trail Life. Trail Life is a Christian alternative to Boy Scouts. People on the Leadership Council of Boy Scouts of America left and started Trail Life when BSA became Scouts. I don't know. Maybe they've been around like 10 years. So maybe it was slightly before or after that, but perfect. It's just like Boy Scouts was when we were kids. And I know you're an Eagle Scout, I'm an Eagle Scout. It's the same type of thing as Boy Scouts was. So I don't know if you we happen to have a Trail Life chapter like 2 miles from my house, and it's perfect. So
Awesome.
if
Yeah.
you didn't have that, I could see how like that's no good for you. but you should look it up online and see if there is one right by your house, because it's super nice. Like, yeah, I love what Boy Scouts does for boys. And that's something that basically all the ages Trail Life combines Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts together.
Oh, I
So
see.
it's like 5 to 18. So all at once, all doing activities together. Um, and it's Christian based, so they pray at the opening and the end and do a benediction and all that. So
Yeah.
it's really, really cool. Had you heard of Trail Life before?
Yeah, I know some people who've done that, and yeah, like that ability to get outside and go camping is really a big deal.
Yeah, and but even like the Trail Life is like those other boys have access to the internet and tablets and things that my kids don't. How do you manage internet at your house? Who has access to
Um,
what? How do you manage
yeah,
internet safety?
what I've noticed is like Apple Watch is an interesting way where you can get like a phone number, and then you can call them, they can call you. But just because there's like only so many apps you can have on Apple Watch, and like you're not actually gonna watch any videos on Apple Watch, um, it just changes things in terms of they don't get to have a cell phone. Um, but then I've noticed that like gaming can still be fun, but if it's like, you know, the computer is set up in the living room, um, and like, you know, watching old school. I got a new TV, new as in it's like 10 years old, and found out, oh, it's got like a 3D feature where if you buy like a DVD player that's 3D, then you can buy like a DVD of Jurassic Park that's 3D. And so that way I can do like fun things with my kids. It's not no tech, but it's kind of, I guess you could call it like low tech, going back to
Those
10 years
t
ago.
I mean
So
those TVs had so much hype and they never actually went anywhere. Like
yeah,
so few people bought them that they all died, but they were real. They were a real product that people were like excited about and pushed.
yeah.
But so you keep internet access to common area and give them a watch for phone calls because you can't really go on TikTok and get in trouble with it. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid. Yeah, we have access to a TV in the living room that we generally only watch in the winter. And I'm excited for March and daylight savings and the TV not going on anymore. Should be like, the sun goes down at 8, so go outside. And just
Yeah.
be outside until it's no longer light, and then you can come to bed. That's how we did it last summer. That's the way to do it, man. Though it snowed here, and the kids have been outside, spent so much time outside, sledding. Just, oh, there's the whole world is a sandbox, and it's white and powdery. Like, let's go be outside. Have you gotten any blizzards in Colorado this year
No, so
so
it's
far?
definitely been. I just take advantage of the warm weather, so I still go to the park, and kids ride their scooters around. I mean, not this last week, but last week it was just cold. So you do have to do a lot of planning in terms of with so many kids. I just go to like Sierra Trading Post and buy a bunch of inflatable snow tubes like months before, and then when it does have, you know, we get that blizzard, we can take advantage of it and have everything we need.
Speaking of, I mean, that sounds awesome. I wish that I had that here. That'd be great. Um, Jasper got, sorry, I gave my son got a Christmas present
Yeah.
of a Nemo ground pad, a really nice air pad for under his sleeping bag. And he
Cool.
took it out in the backyard that night, Christmas, and went to sleep out there. And in the middle of the night, got up and said, I'm calling it quits and come inside.
Yeah.
So it was left outside, and the dog ripped it, popped it up to pieces. Just like 1 day old. He had it for 4 hours of use. You can't leave that outside with the giant balloon with the puppy. Sorry. Our dog's about 6 months old. Jasper's a great dog, but he's a puppy. You can rip stuff apart.
They chew everything.
Yeah. Do you still have dogs?
Yeah. The two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What other animals do you have? Do kids have access to? Anything
Um,
exciting?
they have two cats. So you can find people will be like rehoming, not so much exotic, I guess, but like odd animals. So there's two, they call them African water frogs. Yeah, which are very interesting. So that's what it's clawed water frogs. So they use their like paws to push the food into their mouth, and they eat only like about once a day. They don't do a whole lot,
How did you find
but
these?
it was like a Facebook group that was like um, designed for people who exchange or sell frogs or stuff like that. Someone was giving away their water frogs.
How did you find that group?
Um, I think I just went on like um, Facebook. You can also like next door. You can look up stuff next door where people will be giving away like their
I do think
bearded dragon.
that happens when you have a big family, is that you just like become a magnet for all sorts of animals. I feel
Yeah.
like those two things go hand in hand, right? Like,
Oh yeah. That's how we got the two cats. So someone had like a barn cat that got pregnant, and they were like, "Oh, would you like a kitten?" And so, um,
all
yeah,
the kids in chorus go, "Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, would you like a pit bull? Yeah." Like they're just yes to everything. Well, I think next on our list is chickens. You have any of those at the moment?
no, did quail one year until a fox got in and killed them all. But it
Yeah,
was a lot of
that
fun.
Barney Styles is here now. Start over from the beginning. Okay, good luck with that one, guy. Yeah, we're not about to start over from the beginning, but I support you. I support you. You can do that on Rumble on your own. Yeah, you got quail because there were limits to chickens and you could have unlimited numbers of quail, right? Like you were being a libertarian.
Yeah, well, and part of it is chickens do better when there's a rooster around, and so of course, they don't allow a rooster. Whereas like quail roosters, they call them roos. Um, they're just a lot quieter. They're not gonna bother you as much, and so you can still have some of them around, and then you could end up with like fertilized eggs, is kind of the goal. We wanted to hatch those.
So you had like how many quail did you have?
100, and you're
Wow.
allowed 6 chickens. So now, of course, we had to take care of a lot of them, probably 40 of them, because when they hatch, they're half male, half female, and I'm going for eggs. Like I'm not going to keep a bunch of um, male quail around, but yeah, I did end up hatching successfully 100.
And did you feed all the baby boys to the dogs? Did you eat them?
No, so actually ate most of it. They're interesting because, well, just like kind of like chickens, but most birds are very low fat content. So you do want to like cook it with like bacon or something like that, or
Hmm.
just so it tastes better.
Wow. And then you got a serious amount of quail eggs, and then a fox got in and ended the whole experiment.
Yeah. I've been working on it for like 6 months. So like it was like from summertime until like January, it had been like consistently going after, and eventually it figured out its way in. So
Man, that's so rough. You invested all that time and money and built this thing, and then a fox just destroys it.
yeah,
I would want to kill that fox. I would put some like go to the store and buy chicken then, and then just bait them and put some like strychnine in it, and then just leave it slightly open. You know,
you you'd end up with a fox coat or fox hat.
or a bunch of dead neighbors' cats. All right. Well, Carl, what do you think, considering you got 7 kids and you want them to thrive in the future America? what do you actually think about the organized riots going down in Minneapolis in negative 20 degree? Like, these people are unpaid protesters taking tear gas to the face in negative 20, right? They're extremely unright in the head. Like, what do you think is going to happen with this situation?
Considering that it's January, I feel like it really can't go on for too long because there has to be kind of like an incentive to do it. And so I think, like we described in terms of like taking tear gas to the face, like eventually people will kind of get bored of it. Um, yeah, I think that
Well, Trump capitulated, or did he? Do you think he capitulated?
I don't know. I think that it's hard to tell if there's capitulation going on or if there's like regrouping, because that is one thing where like maybe people, it's possible sometimes people learn from like that's like their mistakes or like they just like try different tactics, and so um, I'm thinking he could just be like deciding that, hey, let's rethink what we're doing, and it's still going to move forward.
Do you think so? What I saw in 2020 when Trump was president and there were riots in the same town, right? George Floyd riots. Black guy dies of fentanyl overdose, and they let the city just go down. Trump never sent in any troops. So, from that experience, did he learn to change his act? Like, did he take a lesson from that, saying what I did was wrong or what I did was the way that I should be? And like, honestly, Trump talks very fierce all the time, and he just took out the president of Venezuela. But it seems like governors and mayors can say and do literally whatever they want and be insurrectionists, and they don't get stomped on, they don't get charged, like nothing happens to them, and they get away with everything, like they get away with murder. That's how I feel. You feel like that's accurate or a misunderstanding? You're gonna give me odds that Trump does actually go back in and do something different?
Like nationalize the local National Guard. Um, I don't know, because it's definitely possible that he would do the National Guard, but I don't know if he really understands the system as well in terms of like what could be the role of ICE and the role of National Guard.
So they arrested Donald Trump in Atlanta for fake trumped up charges. They arrested him in New York for fake trumped up charges. Excuse me, but you should figure out that one side is going to throw people in jail and that you got to fight fire with fire. And in this case, there's real crimes committed by Jake Fry and Tim Waltz that can be legitimately charged and arrested for. I feel like the organization at the state level of the riots, where there are state representatives and likely the mayor, like if we have all of this CIA technology to figure out where Maduro is at all times, we should be able to look up the signal chat of the mayor of Minneapolis organizing with the protesters and charge them when they're racketeering against the federal government, right? Like they're working together in an organized manner, no different than they did in 1860 in South Carolina, and we should be able to break them up legitimately. And I think that would be the right thing to do. I think grabbing these people and putting them behind bars in federal prison for collusion and whatever federal real charges that they've committed, they should just go for it.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the guy in Italy, but that's kind of we initially mentioned when it comes to like arresting and like charging Trump. That was done in I think like the late 80s with like a prime minister of Italy or whoever they have, like president of Italy, and they just went after, they made up stuff. It basically allowed the judicial system to go after the executive branch. And so to think that that's not like a common thing, regardless of like, you know, language or culture, it seems to be like a leftist cultural thing to use the legal system as a weapon.
Absolutely. And then conservatives, whatever you want to call people that are in office, the people in office have no backbone and will not put the pedal to the metal, right? They refuse to charge legitimate things. They refuse to go get illegals and kick them out in the millions, and they were doing 10,000, tens of thousands, right? Like bring in the army from Germany, bring in the army from Korea, bring in the army already in California, 99 Palms, or the Marines. Start using them. Like just start kicking out illegals. You don't have to have funding for ICE, for immigration control. You just need the ICE officer to process it, right? You still have an army guy. They did it in 1950. It was called Operation Wetback, which is a hilarious name that you could get away with in 1950, and we should just do it again. Operation Wetback 2, and anybody who gets in the way and tries to obstruct justice, they go in jail too. And you don't have to be in there for 30 years, but like, oh, you stood in front of an ICE car when he was trying to drive, doing legitimate business, you get 30 days in jail, and an unpleasant jail, right? Like, start piling them through the system, putting felonies on their records or misdemeanors or whatever, and get it done. But I'm much more aggressive on this because I feel like my kid's future is at stake over this stuff. Because when the leftists got in control in 2020, they said you have to take this vaccine or you can't have an organ transplant, and they killed people. And they fight for euthanasia and abortion, and they just want people dead. They want lots and lots of dead people. And this is a life or death struggle. And I wish that we could get rid of people like Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin and people on our side that I hate. But I'll work with them if I need to. If I need to. Not for like invading Iran, but like for fighting illegals. And I don't even think they're willing to work with me. Most of those Republicans in DC, they're not willing to actually deport people because they're like, oh, the meat packers or the ag business or whatever, they hire a ton of illegals and they fund me. And it'd be easy to just say, if you get caught hiring illegals, giant fines, CEOs go to prison. No one has a job tomorrow. Everybody realizes it's dangerous and fires all of their illegal workers that night, right? They're not doing that on purpose because those donors would be so upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's messed up, and that everybody who's in that boat needs to be removed from office, and we can't do it. So Barney Stiles is saying, like, when the Biden administration realized the border crisis was an optics nightmare, they just started flying illegals into the country. Yeah, like the liberals see the bad optics, so they just fly people in to avoid, like, to change the optics, but keep the end goal the same. So if Trump's having bad optics with ICE shooting people, then we should change the method, not change the goal. I'm totally on board with that. But are your kids interested in politics at all, coming from you?
Not yet. I think that there really is the importance of like a good foundation, understanding where stuff is on a map, and kind of like the foundational education is important. And I think that'll guide people, because that kind of helped me understand when, let's see, so I would have been 21 when I first found out about Ron Paul. And so I just had a good background. It wasn't like I was wanting to get into politics. I just knew how to read really well.
And then how did Ron Paul change your views? Was it presidential debates? Was it his book and the Fed? Like,
I think it was the fact that I was able to read so much. I was in business school at the time, and I went to a college where they would deal with Wall Street Journal, or Wall Street Journal would deliver so many newspapers that basically every single student could have a Wall Street Journal every single day. And so I just read a ton. And then I started to recognize that, wait a second, like banks are getting bailed out, and this guy Ron Paul is the only one who's pointing out like what caused this, who actually had a logical explanation for it, and then was against bailing out the banks. And so just the fact that there was a financial crisis going on at the time, I think that nowadays it can be hard for people unless they were to go to Ron Paul and find out about his, explaining inflation, because that's the main thing right now. Like nobody's really seen this like stock market crisis, but obviously inflation is a crisis, and the housing crisis too.
right. Okay. Well, I had a similar story. Ron Paul. I was a George Bush supporting teenage Republican, and but for me, it was the presidential debate in 2008 or 2007. I can't remember when the first one was. But listening to him say things about the Iraq war that nobody else would say, and then thinking, I agree with the guy saying that, well, I don't understand why we're attacking Iraq after some Saudis bombed us. Like, to this day, that makes no sense. And yet there are people, not that many people left, but some people, mostly boomers, who are like brainwashed by Fox News and whoever else in 2003, who will say, it's so good that we took out Saddam Hussein. He was an evil villain. Like, but why? Like, there's nothing more beyond this. Like, there's a lot of evil villains in the world. What about Putin or whoever else, whatever name you want to put in there, Zelensky, Mao? We don't just, apparently we can do it in Venezuela, and that was pretty funny, but we don't just do this all the time. So, like, what did this have to do with 9/11? Nothing. A bunch of Saudis bomb New York, and now we're in Iraq. It's like, okay. So he won me over, and then I read his book and the Fed. We were in a book club too for several years with a bunch of guys, and I feel like that group of guys was like 5 of us, and we're way over 20 kids if you add us all up together.
Yeah.
Let's see. Taylor had 5. I have got 5. You have 7. That's 17 right there. Mario had 2, and Jeffrey has 2. So yeah, we're at 21. That's a pretty good start. I hope that more kids come from that group, and I hope that young kids today hear the message loud and clear that it's really fun to make kids. It's really fun to have kids. You should just find the woman that wants them and make it happen. And it will be hard, and you will grow into a man from the experience. I was definitely a kid when I got married. Like, Carl, can you say the same, that you like matured and became a man through the experience?
Yeah. I think
you feel
that's one of the benefits of doing it early.
Yeah, there's no room for immaturity, procrastination. Like, you got bills to pay and people that are relying on you, and so you figure out how to like add things together and do what you need to do. There's not like a backup option. I guess they could always start a learning center, daycare. I never thought about that. I should have just made a fake daycare and had welfare fraud. That I would have been rich. I could have had a G-Wagon and been driving around rich without working. Oh man, why didn't we think about that? We're just a couple of suckers who believe in doing what's right, not just stealing from the government.
Well, that's actually a pretty funny movie my kids like, is Daddy Daycare. It's a pretty good one.
Daddy Daycare. But that was a real daycare. Those
Yeah.
are real daycare, not a fake daycare making money off the government. So yeah, Nick Shirley, I hope you get married and have kids and stay safe and you don't get shot. But I appreciate his work. I appreciate you too, Carl. Thank you for giving up so much of your valuable time to come on. Do you have
Yeah.
anything else you want to talk about?
Um, I saw that a lot of people are pointing out to in America the I saw today the birth rates in the U.S. are so low that 17 states recorded more deaths than births last year. And people are talking about like Elon Musk, right, for example. But I think one of the solutions is actually to recognize that getting around and being around people who have a bunch of kids is a great way to get yourself in the right mindset. So
And
you don't need to get down on news.
fertility is a really good point too, that so many people think they can wait, but you really don't know if you can wait, right? You have so much more fertility at 18. Like you wish that it wasn't the way it is maybe, but too bad, like that's the way it is. Your fertility is at the highest point and it's the easiest you're ever going to have kids. So you don't know. And many people out there think, we'll get ready to have kids and it's 30 or 32, but your odds go down every year from whatever the peak is, 16 years old for a woman. And there are many childless couples out there who started trying too late and they don't know. You don't know that you're going to be that way until you go and try to make a kid. And like, there's lots of tests and things you can do, but generally you don't start off with tests and getting ultrasounds of your balls and all that. You just try to make a kid, right? And then you go a while and it does or doesn't work. And things like plastics and birth control and all sorts of things can trash your fertility. And so it's dangerous. It's a dangerous game that you might never have kids if you don't start young. So like that's not a do it now or never, but it might be. It's a might be do it now or never, and you don't really have a real quick way of testing to find out if that's you or not. So go for it young. And maybe what if it takes you 4 years to get pregnant? Like find out and you're 24 now and you figured it out, right? Like you had to rebalance your hormones and you had to do a bunch of stuff, but now you have a kid at 24. You started trying at 20 and you figured it out at 24.
Yeah.
If you're like 36, you may not get the kid at 40 after 4 years in, right? Like you may be running the clock. But for everyone, that's the majority, the average. Like not everybody's average. And one of my friends got married. She was 38, or maybe she was 36. She was in her later 30s, and she had 4 kids, all like 1.5 years apart.
Yeah.
So you can do it. Like,
yeah.
But don't plan that way. Don't plan that that's the way you're going to do it. That's all I'm saying. Go for it, guys. And you got to start young if you want to have a big family. You know, you can't start at 30 and get to 8, right? Like, maybe theoretically you can, but like structurally, that's a way more difficult to impossible thing to do. Like if you start out at 20, like Carl did, you could have a kid every 3 years and get to 8, right? Or you could take all the pain at once, just like Carl, and just have like Carl, you're out of date.
I found out today I have 2 coworkers who had twins, so that's a much faster way to do it. But you don't really get to choose that.
Yeah, get 2 for 1.
Yeah.
But I think you're about to be out of diapers, and I'm still gonna be in diapers for a while. Because baby number 5 is due next month, and you've had 7, and the youngest is he out of diapers yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, but he's right at the he understands the concept, and now it's just like about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Because my almost 3-year-old understands the concept, but will just choose to ignore the concept. Like, oh yeah, that's what happens, but also I can just do this. and it doesn't bother me, and I can keep playing. Boys are so much more. I've had 2 boys and 2 girls potty trained or in this. The boys have been so much more difficult. Have you found that at all? Has it been the same? What's been your experience?
I think it depends a lot on the kid. But,
You've had every kid's been different.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, the girls have been like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable," and figured it out by like 2.5, and been completely potty trained. And for each of the boys for me so far have been like, "It doesn't bother me that there's poop in my pants. I'm just gonna keep playing." And yeah, they're like 3 and some change before they get potty trained. But anyways, that I feel like that was a fantastic conversation, Carl. So I might as well stop it there and say thank you for coming on. And do you have any public social media accounts for people to find you? It's okay if
You
the
can look up
answer's
my name on Facebook and always add me there. I'm not sure if I have my ex right now public, but yeah, I'd say just look me up there.
okay. For those of you with a Meta account, now I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Carl. This has been Liberty
Thank you, Brian.
Tonight, and this has been Carl Honegger, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. We will talk to you soon.